here. I don't know why mine comes on with the video turned off all of a sudden. It's a new version or something, I guess. All right. I just got off an hour and a half unexpected Zoom meeting with the Red Cross.
Oh, my God.
Fortunately, I didn't have to run that one, but they needed all sorts of feedback.
You're probably zoomed out by now.
And I missed a Zoom from 5:30 to 6 that I was supposed to be on, but so I hope Eileen just got this. I sent her I don't know why people didn't get your link, Kristen.
I got 8 handouts. I did not print out the one on the, what is it? The transfer, it was too big to.
The plan, yeah, that's fine.
Plan. Yeah, there was a lot of pages there, so I got I think the rest of them out there.
There's just a few pages that I'll if I can, I'll pull that up on my and project it when we get to that.
I've got it on myself, so.
Okay. I have them all here. Draft meeting notes. I better open that. Let's see, Eileen. There's Amanda. There, you got in, Eileen. Good. Sam's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sam is 7 and Tyson's 8. I didn't hear back from Tyson, so.
Steve, Tyson has basketball practice tonight. So he
okay,
said,
thank you.
He can't make it.
Okay, so Sam's the only one we're waiting for. Why don't we go ahead and would you take a look at the meeting notes that Andy did for us, the 2 pages, and see if there's any additions, deletions, or corrections that need to be added. They seem to me to be very thorough, Andy.
Yeah.
Andy was looking for extra credit on this one, I think.
There were a lot of people talking. We had a lot of city council members pitching in, and Sandro was here that time too. So we were a full house.
Anybody have any corrections or anything for the draft meeting notes from October?
Okay, here. I think. Good job,
Okay to
Andy.
me.
All right, hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept them. How about
So-
Kirby? You gonna make a motion there, Kirby?
Motion to accept the draft.
All
meeting.
right. And do it. Bob, I got a second from you.
Yep, that's good.
Okay, good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. And opposed, same or similar sign, I guess. All right, we will put them accepted as written. So our next, we've got on old and continuing business. The first thing is just to reiterate that we did submit a grant to the Community Foundation for 7 new bike racks. Special thanks to Parks Foundation for being our 501c3 nonprofit, and thanks to Amanda for getting us the quote. And I did get contacted by the Community Foundation. They wanted the actual quote, although there wasn't any way to attach it or whatever, but they have that now. So they should be acting on it sometime in the next couple of weeks, I guess. Maybe Kristen knows. So the second item on the agenda is the review of the bike routes as proposed by our subcommittee. And Kristen, can you let me pull that up, or do you have a copy of what's the file's called Bike Routes 2.0? Do you have that file? I have it if you don't. It should have been, I think, the third handout that I sent out yesterday. I also have, I know you can't see this, but I found a map that I could blow up that doesn't have any markings on it now that I'll send it to Andy. And I was hoping this afternoon I'd have time to actually draw in the new 2.0 routes, but the afternoon conspired against me with all sorts of things going on. I'm gonna open it up. If everybody is able to take a look at that, there's two things that have been proposed by our subcommittee, and thanks again to Bob and to Andy and to Kirby for their suggestions and things on this. I want to go through and look at each of the proposed changes on the routes. And in addition to that, what they've done is, I guess this was primarily Kirby's, he may not know that, but primarily his suggestion about levels of difficulty, if you will, for the routes that the Transportation and Safety Committee, at least some members of it, have asked us to consider to try to expedite having more people willing to ride on the routes. And so I think Andy's modification of what Kirby came up with is level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 being the I guess in green, meaning that it's oriented towards the maybe the least experienced riders or less skilled riders. Level 3 being the one that's probably more challenging. So those are listed on the routes. So Route 1, if you're looking, I've got this pulled up. Am I able to share that? I don't know how. Oh, share screen.
You should be. I made you
Okay,
a co-host, so you should be able to.
Yeah, back to the grades 1 through 3 real quick. Kirby graded the research that he did as 5 being the hardest route. With notes like, I mean, he can add on to this, but just traffic, the speed limit was much higher. Traffic didn't seem to care that there was a biker on the road and gave him less room and so on and so forth. And Kirby, I just downsized your 1 to 5 to 1 to 3 rather unscientifically, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Can everybody see that? What I have on my screen, is that sharing? Yes, no?
We've got your files up, but if you've chosen a file, we can't see anything open yet.
You have
let me-
two screens, Steve?
Yeah, I have two screens and I
You
just
might
moved.
have it, you might have it viewing on the other screen instead of the one you want.
Pulled it over. Let's see how I can.
There you
Yep.
go.
There we go.
You can see it now?
Even got color.
Oh, okay. So I put it back on the second screen and now it's visible. So not on the one I was looking at. All right. So Route 1, I'll just highlight this one. This is called the downtown loop. The recommended change, right now, the northern part, the downtown loop is a rectangle. And the northern end of it is supposed to be Oak Street. The problem with Oak Street is that is shortly going to go away because of some construction and otherwise. And it's also in a very short, in the middle of the block kind of street, which makes it less than optimum for trying to get across, especially when traffic is backed up. So the proposal is that that we should use Court Street where there is a traffic light, and leave the other ones on Church and Prospect are the east and west.
Steve, if I could add,
All right.
Steve,
Yes. Question.
Oak is also a one-way street. Just
And it's also a one-way street. That's correct. Or at least the one west of Main Street. All right. So I think that makes sense. And Court Street also is another corridor that we're going to work on. All right. I will let you, let's see. Bob, will you talk about Route 2? I know you take this one frequently. I'm going to go on mute for just a minute here.
Well, I mean, I go up to Levis Commons to Perrysburg, and I go up, I just go up Brim past the fairgrounds and turn left on Hannah, then I connect up with Hall Prairie. Then Hall Prairie goes straight up to Perrysburg to the new elementary at the corner of Roachton. And it's nice there in that you can turn right there, and they've got a nice roundabout there at Roachton, and right there at the elementary, you can go right. They've got a nice wide bike path all the way down to Levis Commons now. And then you can hook up with the bike path the south of Levis Commons. And if you really feel venturesome, you can go over to Levis Commons. You can go up through the overpass there, but I never went across that before. It's kind of like the roundabout here in Bowling Green that you can go around, which I know you've been on, Steve. But that's where I go to Perrysburg up to the Levis Commons there. But
So the change on this one, Bob, is just simply to include Brim.
Yeah, I would say keep Brim I mean, I also go to Perrysburg. I go up to Waterville and cross the bridge and follow the river road up to the new bike path along to get you up to Sidecut Park and to get to Maumee across the bridge. That's a roundabout way to get in Perrysburg. I do that sometimes also. But I think the most direct way to Perrysburg to get up there to get Levis Commons would be the path I said there, following Brim up to Hall Prairie, Hannah to Hall Prairie, and it goes straight up to the new elementary on Roachton Road. You turn right, and that takes you to Levis Commons.
All right. So the change on that one is the extension using Brim here, I guess. The rest of it stays pretty much the same.
Right.
That is a level 3, as I understood that level 3 tended to be the ones that are on roads with higher speed limits, and particularly ones that go out of town.
Correct.
And that might get easier, the level wise at least, because I know on our wish list that Brim Road does seem to be wide enough to maybe put in some bicycle lanes in the future.
All right. And I'm not sure that we have that on our list and we need to look at that, I think. Good. Let's look at the Route 3, which is called the Woodland Mall. Currently, it takes North College out. And North College can be a little bit of an adventure. I guess that's the one Kirby's quoted as saying it's the worst area that he would bike on in town. I actually ride on it fairly frequently, and you just have to be a little bit intrepid, I guess, in order to ride on North College. So we're suggesting what's going to happen here, Bob and Andy. How are we going to get to the Woodland Mall?
Well,
We're thinking about North Main Street, and I know it's pretty hairy on the road, and I know it can be pretty hairy on the sidewalks, but I mean, if you're slow on the sidewalks, it seems like a better chance than trying to compete with 55-mile-an-hour traffic on North College.
I wonder if there's what I'm concerned about is Tyson's not on, but he's the one that's going to tell us that 95% of our accidents are sidewalk riding, including several that within the last year or two have happened out there on North Main Street. So we don't, and the problem is the sidewalk riding is fine. It's when it crosses either a street or an entrance into a business where it becomes dangerous. So I guess I would prefer not to suggest that we have a sidewalk as the bike route. At least at this point.
Sometimes I bike in this summer, I biked over to Eastwood and I go out Fairview, and the first street out there, if you go north on Fairview, I turn right and you go to the traffic light there and you shoot. That's right at the little mall there where the bank is at. And you go into the south end of the mall there where the movie theaters are at. And I cut through the mall and head on to out Eastwood that way. But that's one way. It would be safer, I think, than riding on Main Street.
Right.
Took Fairview the whole way.
Yeah, I think then probably getting to Woodland Mall, we do need to have some alternative. Not Main Street, and it sounds like not North College, which takes you a little bit farther than you need to go. And I do like the idea of Fairview across. I'm trying to remember. The street comes out there by Thayer. Toyota.
And you come out to a traffic light there too. You go straight across the traffic.
And you have
and it gets you into the south end of the mall.
Van Camp.
I think that's it.
That's Van Camp. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's suggest. I'm going to do this in italics.
Are we in agreement though that North College will be dropped from the route and we should focus on North Main?
No, I would suggest that we're not going to use North Main at all, either
Okay.
or South or North College. But
All right.
I think the better way to do it is Fairview to Van Camp, you cross North Main at the light into Woodland Mall.
Okay.
I'm just going to highlight that and suggest maybe we'll drop those. We can, we're gonna have to consider this a little bit further, but other comments? Eileen or anybody else? All right, Route 4 Pemberville route. So Andy or Bob?
Well, I go to Pemberville, I go up O Road. I mean, you go through campus and hit the Mercer and turn right on Mercer. You got Polk Road, which has been paved all the way now out to 105. But again, that's a very lot of traffic. But
So,
I go,
one,
when I go to Pemberville, I go the back way that's more scenic and Long River Road and stuff. I mean, it's meant for a bike ride, it's meant for exercise and sightseeing, not to get there expeditiously, but it's got less traffic, going along, what is it? It starts with an L. I don't know. There's a bunch of back roads back where that county museum is and all that. And that's how I get back there.
yeah,
because one of the thoughts that I had was the place I feel about from Mercer on Poe, from Mercer over the overpass to the stop sign. I feel like Kirby riding that section because it's 50 miles an hour and people are always trying, even if you're claiming the lane, when you go over the overpass, people are constantly trying to pass you, even with oncoming traffic. And so that makes me, and I feel like I'm fairly intrepid as a biker, and I'll do it if I have to. But now we have the bike path that is at the other end of Mercer. It actually not on Mercer. It starts at where Alumni Drive becomes Campbell Hill. And so the better way to go over in that direction is to do the bike path, go over the roundabout and stay on that, and then get to Dunbridge Road. And then at Dunbridge Road, you've got several alternatives. If you go left on Dunbridge, go north, you can get up and get onto Poe. You can also cross at the light and go right and then go out either Napoleon or Gypsy Lane. And as Eileen is saying, that would get you out to River Road. That would be a better alternative than at least that one section of the 50 mile an hour Poe Road, which is has become fairly congested, especially at certain times of the day. When you get at Poe and Dunbridge, once you're west of, east of Dunbridge Road, the traffic is substantially less because most everybody's on Poe going to Dunbridge, north or south. So it becomes a little easier. Just seems to me we ought to avoid, where possible, that one section of Poe Road, because you're hemmed in by the ditch and the guardrails, and cars are going, because of the 50 mile an hour. So I think maybe there's some alternatives. I'm just going to say via Dunbridge or via the bike path on East Worcester and at least as something to consider. We'll highlight that. All right, Route 5, which is called the West BGSU route. Andy, you want to talk about that one? How we're talking about changing it?
Yeah, so we wanted to, at least not on our most recent map. I think my most recent map is a 2014 one. It doesn't have Thurston North, which now has Sharrows, which is nice. So we wanted to add Thurston all the way from Poe to Worcester, and then all the way through to Manville, like it already is there. That opens up a lot of university stuff and also apartment buildings and whatnot. And then that also opens up connections to Route 1 and 6 by adding Clough, which is going to be like a theme, I think, of this meeting, is like straight up adding Clough. You can go from Campbell Hill all the way to South Church Street on Clough. And yeah, and then maybe use Court Street, because we're talking about with the downtown loop, using Court Street instead of Ridge as the campus to downtown connection.
Okay. So that would be and Thurston, and so it's already, according, this route is already includes Manville, but it only takes Thurston up to Ridge. So we're saying we're going to stay on Thurston all the way to Poe.
Yep.
Rather than make that little jog to get over to North College.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Routes 1 into 6.
6 being the East BGSU campus, the next one on the list.
Let's go down to that one. Use Court Street, not Ridge, as the campus downtown connection. Good, because we're hoping Court Street will be a place where we'll actually have a bicycle lane from campus down to the downtown loop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then it has Route 5 has that little jaunt on Scott Hamilton, which I guess you can get in and out of the numbered streets, but Scott Hamilton is usually just packed full of cars and traffic of students. So I thought we could just get rid of that.
Okay. All right. So
and yeah, Route 6. Sorry, but also by adding Clough, Campbell Hill all the way to Maine, even to South Church, gives you access to St. Mark's Church, Crim Street School, all the apartment buildings down on the east side of town, BMV, everything involved in the shopping center out there. And it's a little tight on space on Clough, but it's a pretty slow, easy drive, even with traffic.
If the one, since I live on Clough, it's the street that I use all the time. The one thing I'd like to add to this is warning, some kind of warning signs on the curve around the windmill.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because that's a blind curve. My solution to it is that I bear as far left as I can in the lane. And I know it, if there's somebody following me, they're like, come on, we can't pass you. And my logic is that's exactly why I'm out riding by the yellow line. So you won't try to pass me on this until we get through that. But I do like this. So you're saying Route 6 basically is going to be Clough Street rather than Mercer and Campbell Hill as it's described now, or are you just adding Clough to Mercer and Campbell Hill?
I think just adding it to it,
Okay.
which it connects Route 6 to anything, or it connects it to something else than the Route 4, the Pemberville route. I don't know. It just seemed kind of like an island floating out there, and then Clough down the middle of it will be a nice connection.
Well, and it also allows us to get out to, one of our goals is to connect with parks. And so this is by doing Clough all the way to Campbell Hill allows you to get to Carter Park.
Yep.
And I think that's good. Sorry about that. I'm getting someone trying to call me. All right, so that's East BGSU. Route 7 is Route East, and that one is
It's
the
pretty much
Napoleon-
just
essentially-
Napoleon.
Yeah.
And Steve, I quoted your notes that you sent out verbatim for this one. Bob and I we looked over it and we weren't 100% sure what you were going for with what you said here, but that's from your suggestions.
Okay, I'll have to look back and see what I said because I'm thinking I don't want anybody driving or riding on Napoleon west of South College. Well, at least it's not I wouldn't say it's a level 2 west of College, except west of Manville and add to Route 5, which was.
That
the
was,
West
I'm assuming
BGSU.
you're connected to Manville, maybe?
Yeah. So I was thinking that that's one that I would drop, except for trying to let it connect to the east to Route 5, as you've said there. Maybe it's Napoleon west of Manville and add that to Route 5. So essentially 7 would drop out and we're just adding 7 to 5, or the little section from Manville west to South Main, which would connect to hopefully to the new the planned bike lane that's south of Napoleon. All right, let's and that would be a level 2, I think, just not east of Manville, or not east of South College, because that's where it gets back up to 45 and 50 miles an hour, and it's surprisingly busy. All right, Route 8. This is one that I also thought we needed to do some kind of modification on. 8 is, right now, 8 is basically just on Gypsy Lane over to Walmart. Am I reading my my current map correctly?
Yep.
So it's from Klotz Road all the way over to Eileen's house. And so what are you suggesting? That we would use the bike lane on South Main between Napoleon and Gypsy Lane to get a bike lane down to Walmart.
My favorite comment is, the bike lane is the bike lane. I'm like, yes, it is. It is. It is.
Sorry, say
That's
that
how I
again.
get downtown. I go from my house and I take the bike lane back into town through by the Montessori school. I don't even bother going on Sand Ridge because Sand Ridge is awful.
Okay.
So
So,
you're not supposed to go
you're
on it
saying you're
far.
using you actually go from your house and get on the Slippery Elm Trail.
Yeah, I get on the trail. The trail is the trail.
Yeah.
And I get on the trail and I go to the Montessori school and then I go downtown from there because there's no reason to go on Sand Ridge. It's a horrible, awful, bumpy, narrow
Sure.
street.
Curvy, yeah.
It's horrible. But you know, it keeps the speed down by not fixing the damn road. It's a conspiracy.
I mean, yeah, this route, it just being Gypsy Lane. I mean, I thought maybe people trying to get to Walmart from, let's say, downtown could take the Slippery Elm to Gypsy Lane and then take Gypsy Lane in. But I mean, I don't know if we just want to like try keeping all of Gypsy Lane. I don't know. This is one I don't have any good ideas on, to be honest.
Gypsy Lane, if you're going out, it's not that bad. If you're going to go east, I just don't know why you would want to go east because it doesn't really go to that much stuff.
Other than
Sure.
to
You know, you get
Walmart.
past once you're past the apartments, there's not that much left anyway. It's pretty rural. So, you know,
You
can
could
go to the-
eliminate
you
some
can
at
go to
Gypsy Lane. You come down the trail, you go across the bridge out to the new part of the parks, and then just go south and you wouldn't have as much Gypsy Lane there. You'd have to go back onto
Yeah.
Gypsy Lane. You'd eliminate there about a quarter of a mile or so. That's a possibility. To the new parks out there where the trails are at. And connect back up Gypsy Lane. And if you cross the street, you get on the sidewalk and you wouldn't have to be on Gypsy Lane at all. If you wanted to kind of be safe getting there, you wouldn't have to go much further on Gypsy Lane to get to Walmart.
That sounds like a possibility. West of the Slippery Elm to encourage. Yeah, but Eileen
I mean,
likes
if
it
I'm
west of the Slippery
going
Elm
to
Trail.
leave town,
Not that bad, no.
yeah, I
No,
mean,
it
if
isn't.
If I'm going east to leave town out off the trail, I take Kramer and which is just a little bit farther south. And I take Kramer and go east. And that's how I go out to go to Pemberville, you know. So I take
Okay,
Kramer,
sure.
go
That's a good road
around
too,
there.
Eileen, you're right.
Yeah, that's pretty safe and you know, but that's not really in town, right? That's
Right.
to
I
get
was
out of
just going to
town.
say that's the only problem is that's really outside of town. So we really can't designate that as as one of our routes because it is out of town. But that's another, I mean, that's a bigger issue about what do you do when you get outside of town? I think that's probably on the TMACOG map. Well, I'd have to check to see. All right, Route 9, I think you guys have summarized it fairly well. The trail is the trail. I did want to point out, I didn't know if anybody saw this, but they did have the opening of the new bike park down in Rudolph.
Yeah,
That was supposed to happen last spring, but of course, everything fell apart on us. But now that it's open, they still don't have, grass isn't planted or whatever, but it's really interesting. The naturalist from the park district, Amanda, can you remind me who the naturalist is? That is planning.
Craig Spicer.
Oh, Craig Spicer. Yeah. He was sort of the brains behind this. And I think I really do want to get out there and ride on it. Apparently there's a beginner level. That's beginner for people that are just starting to ride or somebody like Bob or me who are just finishing riding. And then there's an intermediate and a more difficult route through there. So that is a real nice addition. And it's a fairly easy, it's just about 5 miles, I think, south of the beginning of the trail to get out there, which is a fairly easy ride.
My
All
brother-
right, let's look at,
Yeah, Rudolph is exactly 5 miles from
it's
BG.
exactly 5. Okay.
My brother broke his finger at the bike park.
Uh-oh.
Oh, really, Sam? Oh,
Yeah.
Mazel tov.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a
Tell him
wood-
he should
that's-
sue. He should sue
No.
Craig.
That's a Wood
Yeah.
County Park District facility. So, and I'm pretty sure they have recreational immunity. So you need
Yeah,
to
probably
know
do.
you have like it's a dangerous thing and you could hurt yourself. So yeah, probably not going to get any money.
I was out by there
Um,
last week, and it's getting a lot of use. There's lots of people out there biking on it.
Are they great? That's
Not me.
exactly what they hope for. All right, Route 10, called the Weston Route. It's not completely clear exactly where that the Weston Route started and end. I mean, it ends in Weston and goes part of the way on Sand Ridge. The suggestion was from our subcommittee to extend it all the way to Sand Ridge, all the way to South Maple. Eileen, I take it from her comment, probably thinks that's not a great idea.
Well, I just know what they're saying about, the, with the complete street, or not complete streets, but the yay bikes, what they said, so.
Yeah. So the other part of the Weston Route is to include the south part of Winter Garden. Actually, from all the way from Conneaut to Sand Ridge, add that to the potential Weston Route, because then you would have a connection from City Park all the way out and west. Does anybody have an opinion about connecting the part of Sand Ridge from Gypsy Lane all the way into South Maple?
I guess as an alternative, you could take Gypsy Lane to the trail and then the trail to Maple. I don't know if that would make people feel a little safer than taking Sand Ridge all the way there. If it's bumpy and windy and people might be going too fast. That's just a suggestion.
Sand Ridge is a direct route to Weston. I haven't not biked on Sand Ridge from the Montessori out to when you cross over to to get the road onto Weston there, but
And then you could head out. Again, that's a level, we've listed it as a level 3 because it's going out of town. So we'll come back and look at that after we've had a little bit more time. Route 11, which is the Bowling Green Community Center. And this is the one we've actually talked about the last 2 meetings. Is how do we connect to the community center? And 11. So it looks like it's hard to tell with the colors on here, but it looks like it's only just that section from the community center to Brim on Newton Road, and that it doesn't connect any place else. And it would involve, there is that multi-purpose path that's on the south side of Newton, which is fine, but basically it's a route to nowhere unless we have some other kind of connection. There is, and I don't know exactly where the right of way is, but there's a right of way supposedly that the city owns from the high school, middle school up to either Van Camp or to, it must be just up to Van Camp. That could be another section of the multi-purpose path that's along Newton. Kristen, do you know anything about the right of way?
I have notes somewhere, but I don't have them with me, so I don't want
All
to
right.
on authority on that. But there are some sections where there's right of way, and then there are quite a few sections where there's not right of way. I know that's there was a different route that was potential, but that was based on some things happening with the schools that didn't happen. So
Okay.
to kind of split it a different way.
So the other option is, we'll get to that in a minute, the high school route, which includes North Fairview, which only goes out as far as Newton Road, but combining 13 and 11, or adding 11 as part of 13 might be another alternative for getting out to the community center. Newton Road's fairly wide, but it is, I think it's 45 miles an hour. Van Camp, I think, is the same, and it also has that section of Brim Road that is a little dicey because it's so the speed limit, and it's narrow, and the speed limit's kind of high out there.
Is there ever
Route
any
12
thought,
Go ahead, Bob.
is there ever been a thought of putting a bike path on Fairview and putting a bike path on Newton Connect up out there, or that's not possible? My wife was asking that today, and I said, I don't know.
Well, the reason that the Sharrows only got as far as Poe on Fairview is that was what was being, repaved at the time. I do think the Fairview north of Poe is wide enough where that would be one there where we could have a bike lane on each side. It would narrow the lane somewhat, but we'd have to check. I'm still trying to get some data from the city about widths of various streets, but my recollection is that Fairview is fairly wide, and so is Newton going across. So we could have a bike lane, Fairview and Newton, and then switch over to the multi-use path that's south, or that's on the south side of the rest of Newton across.
Fairview from north on Poe Road, it's kind of bumpy. There's little frost heaves every 30 feet, a little bump. It's just, I mean, I've biked a couple times this summer. I don't go on it because it's kind of bumpy, but
Yeah.
it's nice if there was a bike path there. If even possible, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually a horrible road. It's
Yeah,
not
it's-
so great in your car,
Yeah,
but I'm usually on it for only a short time, so.
mhm.
Well, maybe it's one, we'll have to look on the list and see when it's scheduled for repaving. That would be one thing to look at. All right, Route 12. Route 12 is also called Route West, and that is orange. And that is basically Conneaut. So it's the one that has Sharrows on it. It's Conneaut from Grove all the way out to outside of the city limits. The suggestion is to add Winter Garden. Bob or Andy, is that Winter Garden both north and south?
Oh, good point. What do we say on that, Andy? I can't remember what. I mean,
I think We just did it from the north end is Conneaut all the way down to Sand Ridge on the south end.
Okay. That would be part
We
of
didn't
Route
really
West.
discuss going through. Yes. Well, it would be, I mean, if we did Winter Garden from Clough to Gypsy Lane, it would be a whole bunch of routes, but we could easily add it to 12 or even 15, the West Bowling Green route, because it probably adding Winter Garden would probably work for Route 15 more, because Route 15 includes streets like Pearl and yeah, those kind of southwest neighborhoods there.
I do think that's one thing that's on my notes I suggested that especially because it's sort of one of the westernmost streets, that we ought to include Winter Garden somehow on one or more of the routes, or make it its own route. I think adding it to an existing one probably makes sense.
And it allows you to get to the park, and it's, you know,
Yeah.
usual entrance. It's businesses, you know, Stimmel's and Sunday Station and whatnot.
Okay, good. And add South Grove from Conneaut to Worcester to open up the BG Beer Works. All right.
That was my thought. Bob did a really good job of making several extra destinations on his notes for his report, and I'd say about 3 or 4 destinations had him going on North Grove as kind of a connector street.
And everybody else doesn't realize that you guys were working at the Beer Works while you were putting this together. So that's probably why that's a product placement.
Yeah.
All right.
Fuel.
Okay, let's look at 13, which is the high school route. Currently, it basically goes Poe to Haskins and the full length of Fairview. So we've already talked about the fact that we could maybe do a combination of Route 11 with Route 13. The Parkview Trailer Park to the high school. Oh,
This is more on a personal level to me. I just wanted to throw it out there because I know that council members in the past have brought up people, you know, who don't have cars, who have to ride bikes. I just grew up with a lot of people in elementary school and junior high and high school that live out in the Parkview apartments that I'm pretty sure they just cut through everything and don't take bike paths, but I don't know. I just wanted to put that to light, I guess.
okay. So there is a way to get through to Fairview from the light at
Yeah.
Parkview. But it's not listed on the map. But it would be worthwhile exploring that, because I do think you're right. That's exactly what several of the council members have suggested, that particularly for individuals who may be relying on bicycles as a relatively main type of transportation, that's one of our sort of our charges from several folks, trying to consider how we do that. So I like that. And yeah, and I think you're right that they cut through the Fairview apartments to get to the high school.
And you go past that new beer place there, and you taking that street, you just kind of wind
Right,
around.
cut
speed
back
bump,
through.
But it
Since
comes
it's
right
not,
up to middle school.
yeah, since it's not a city street, we can't make it officially part of a route.
Right.
But that's probably, I think you're right. That's probably how people do it.
Mm-hmm.
When we were doing the training with Yay Bikes, I remember Tom Vanden Eyden took us that way as an alternative ride. I think Catherine from Yay Bikes was rolling her eyes like, where the heck is he taking us? But that was how we got around. He was trying to show us some non-street ways of getting from one place to the next. All right, Route 14 is the route south. 14, that's a green one.
Yeah, that is the entirety of Dunbridge.
Yeah, Dunbridge.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And again, if we wanted to, it seems like the route south, connecting it up with Gypsy Lane or Poe Road at the north, because it would make a connector. And now that we have the bike, the off-road multi-purpose bike lane from Campbell Hill over the overpass, I think we need to figure out how to represent that on the map, because that's another in other than the one little crossing where cars are coming off of going south, coming off of I-75. They're coming pretty fast. We might need to see if we could get some sort of a crossing light or something there to slow people down a bit. But I think we could connect that with Dunbridge somehow, because right now that path goes over I-75 and then just dead ends right at Dunbridge and doesn't take you anyplace else. So I think we should look at that as best we can. I'm going to put it's probably not a bike path. It's probably a multi-purpose, but all right, Route 15, next to the last one here. That's West Bowling Green. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking. Right now, if you look at, I'm looking at the bike handout map.
Is it on there, Steve?
Of the original one, yeah. It's yellow, and I think Andy mentioned it's basically all sorts of residential streets in West Bowling Green. I'm not sure which precinct in the city it is, but it's south of Conneaut, all the way down to essentially to Wintergarten Park. So again, this is adding Wintergarten, and that would go by the Sunday Station, Sunset Bistro, and Stimmel's, and the services that are on Ridgewood Drive. Drop Larchwood.
Yeah, Larchwood, I'm pretty sure, is a cul-de-sac neighborhood that there's one in and one out, and that's off of West Wooster.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a way to get in or out of that neighborhood by what this map is telling us.
Right.
I haven't investigated it myself yet, but I'm skeptical.
Yeah, those are the condos, right? I don't think there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that would be a good idea.
All right. Change Pearl to the Worcester route from Winfield to Eberly, which is
my thoughts on that. This is something that I was speaking with people who live on Dunbar, so who would be coming from that direction to maybe go downtown or somewhere else. That we were talking about. Winfield is a nice, slow, windy road through a nice neighborhood. but going from south to north, you have to get onto West Wooster Street, and to make a left or a right from Winfield onto Wooster, that's a bend of Wooster that cars are going to be doing 35 to 40 miles an hour and maybe
Yeah.
not see you either direction. And then changing it to Eberly was another. Before they were open, Arlen's Good Beer was part of the mural tour for
I
one
remember that.
slow ride.
Uh-huh.
So I thought maybe Eberly would be a cool, route to have for. There's the daycare over there on Eberly. There's Arlen's Good Beer behind it, and also making a left or right onto Wooster Street from Eberly seems like a lot safer than doing it from Winfield to me.
Good, yeah, good
I
point.
totally agree with that. That's a bear, even in a vehicle.
Mhm.
Okay.
People coming out of Haskins, are they going to stop? Are they not going to
Yeah.
stop?
And your view is kind of blocked. You're gonna have to edge out a little bit. So yeah.
Right.
I think Everly is a good call.
Okay, and last but not least, North Prospect, which is Route 16. Currently, North Prospect from Worcester to Poe.
It's hard to see on the map, but it's there, and I think
Yeah, it's
it
already
does-
there.
it
It's
does.
an alternative to riding on North Main. That seems to me to be a good one. That maybe we consider for some sharrows.
Mhm.
Depending upon, again, Prospect is going to be a bit like Maple Street in that there are sections, blocks where there's no parking and blocks where there is parking. So that would be maybe prohibitive for putting sharrows in to be able to get the adequate distance or width of the street. But that is a good alternative. All right. Again, thank you to the subcommittee. Any thoughts from anybody us having plotted through this? Any comments from anyone? Are there any routes that we're missing that we should be considering adding? Or any of these that we should completely drop?
Hey, Steve, I'm just looking at the West Bowling Green and trying to follow. The access to Arlen's and Dunn's Kitty Care is actually off of Goral.
Oh, yeah, instead of Everly.
Oh, that's right, it is on.
So I think that might just be, it's a parallel, I mean, it runs off to Everly. But I don't have the routes in front of me, so I'm not sure what the intent of this route is.
Yeah, I think
It's mostly,
it's one block further east from Goral, I believe. But it's still, that'd be a good way to go left, right there. You avoid that turn down at Winfield there when you can't see.
Right.
so I will,
Yeah, I think the original goal with having Winfield there was an access to get to Haskins Road. I think. So yeah, Goral or Everly instead, I think is slightly easier maybe, but also throw some businesses along the way.
Mhm.
okay. And this also includes South Main Street. So I want to make that note. Not Main, I'm sorry, Maple. which has been part of our discussions recently. Okay, I'm gonna save this as an alt. This is, we're gonna call this 2.5, just because we can. All right. I hadn't really intended for that to take quite that long, but I do appreciate folks' feedback and input into that. So let me pull up one more. I'm going to close this off, and then I want to pull up so here is I had too much time on my hands one afternoon, apparently. The original rating that we did 2 years ago, for those people that have still been on the commission, what we did is we rated the biker frequency, and again, it was just sort of a self-perception of whether we biked in those streets or who we knew. And then the second issue was whether it passes or connects to a destination. So a school, a park, other bike-related destination, and then whether it was connected to a current bike route or not. So in red here are three other elements or items that I thought we should consider when we're talking about probably especially Sharrows, but also bike lanes, and that is the speed limit on the street. And I notice I've categorized this so if the speed limit is over 45 miles an hour, you get a 0 for that. And the slower the speed limit, the more points you would get for that particular street. The street width, and again, I kind of made these up. I don't know if they actually fit with existing widths of streets, although I know the 22 feet is fairly common across the, so a narrow width street means that particularly if there is on-street parking, which is the third item, it means that we would have a hard time actually putting Sharrows on that particular street. As we've already discovered with South Maple. So these are three items that I would like to add to our rating, because I'd like to redo the rating. I'm thinking we would do the rating probably only alternate, either every 2 years or every 3 years, depending upon how many different streets had been paved during that time and how much had changed. So this is the kind of the rating scale, and I sent a copy of that to you to look at. And then, so what I'm going to ask you to do is, I'm going to move this over. Can you see the Excel sheet on there? Good. What we need to do first is with the, at least with this recommended changes on the bike routes, we'll have to take a look at this item and see whether any of these need to be changed or not. For example, North and South Wintergarten, we in fact have suggested that that would be included as part of one or more of the routes. So that would be added to this item here so that we would know that it would, how many points it would get. What I'm hoping to be able to do is with these three items, the width of the street, the speed limit of the street, and whether there's on-street parking or not have us rate that, but in fact, just add that based upon what actually exists, because these are not ones that we need to have a perception of. We need to know. And so I'm trying to get information from the city administration about that. I haven't had any luck just yet. They've apparently been kind of busy. But what I would ask you to do would be to rate the biker frequency, the connection to destinations, and once I go back through and modify this based upon the committee's recommendations, we'll also look at whether it's connected to a bike route or whether it is part of a bike route, so that we can give another recommendation to the city administration so they can update their matrix in terms of our priorities. The difference, if you noticed, instead of a 0 to 6 rating, it would actually be, because we've added 3 new ones, it would be a 0 to 12 point rating that would allow us potentially to discriminate a little bit more between maybe our low and our high priority items. I'm not going to ask you to do this yet. I've given you a copy of this, but I'm going to revise this based upon as I said, the recommendations here, and hopefully have these 3 filled in already, so that as a member of the commission, you would just do these 3 ratings like we did 2 years ago. And it will automatically then add up the number of points. And then we'll have a discussion to see how many points we think should be a high priority street to be able to do Cheryl rankings. And the same thing with the bike lanes. So on this, what'll happen is I will send you an updated version of this Excel sheet and ask you to do this rating. But I'm going to wait till I hear back from Joe Fawcett or Brian Kraft, because I'm pretty sure the city has to have this information. There's no sense in us, just guessing at what it is. In this summer, I had one of the city council members, and we were doing some riding, and we at one point tried to measure the width of the street, and that becomes really hairy as soon as there's any traffic on the street. So I don't want us to get into that. I think they already have this information, or I'm guessing that they should. So this will be a homework assignment that I guess we'll do in lieu of our meeting next month. And I'll give you a deadline. I originally said December 1st, but I'm going to give a little bit more leeway on that, depending on how long it takes me to get these data and to change the bike route data. But I'll send this to you, and then each person I'll ask you to just add your name to the file name, so that I'll be able to put it into the larger spreadsheet that will then give us an overall point total. And we can compare it with the previous ones to see if it changes any priorities on any of the streets that we have. All right.
Steve, Joe did send you an email today.
We did. I didn't see it.
Yeah, so it's in process with like our GIS folks.
Oh, good.
Sure-
Okay.
for sure the width and some of the other things, speed limit might be in a different location, so it might have to be pieced together, but
Okay, rather than having it all on one.
yeah.
All right, good. Yeah, no, I didn't see, I wonder if he had responded before and it is in my spam thing or something. All right, one last thing before we wrap up, because I realize we've kind of gone long here. The revised bicycle transportation plan. I think we'll just do this as another kind of homework assignment. Most of the first part of the bicycle transportation plan is similar to what was submitted back in 2009. What has changed is on whatever page this is, page 4, I updated some of the goals and objectives as of last September in terms of what actually has been accomplished. For example, design, modify, and maintain public streets to facilitate bicycle usage, and noted that we've added Sherrills not just to Conneaut and Fairview, but also Manville and Thurston at this point in time. And then for future, the thing that's different about this is starting on page 5 is I decided to use the 6 E's that both Yay Bikes and Safe Routes to Schools uses as an organizing principle for what we're hoping to do in the future. And just as a review, the 6 E's are engineering, which we also synonym for that has been infrastructure, which is the Sherrills or the bike lanes. Education, which is the thing that we've really kind of focused on, education for wearing helmets, for lights on bikes, other things. Evaluation is probably the 1 E that to this point in time we have had the least amount of focus on, that we need to be thinking about more of. Enforcement also, in terms of, we've had some discussion about whether we can work more in collaboration with the police department in terms of helping with enforcement and compliance with following, for example, the rules of the road. Equity is that discussion that, as Andy pointed out, for areas of town where it's perhaps a little lower socioeconomic status, where people may need to use bicycles as a main way of transportation. Equity is an important concept, and it's an area we haven't done as much as we could have. And then, of course, enjoyment, our use of the slow rolls, thanks to Amanda and others, and other activities that we've been able to, in the past, we've done some bike rodeos and some other things, is another area. So from page 5 through the end of the transportation plan, I have up through page, I guess, 11. And then page 12 is supposed to have a map of our bike routes, and we can insert that when we've kind of finalized them. But so from page 5 to 11, I've added some things in here and organized it under these 6 E's. So starting with with engineering, and then moving to education activities and strategies, included what we've, some of the history of what we've done, especially in May, and other future activities that we would like to engage in. some evaluation and planning techniques. One of the things we will have to do with evaluation is that's a component of what we need to do with this. If we do get the Community Foundation grant, we have to have some kind of pre and post evaluation of whether people are using the bike racks or not in downtown locations. So that may get us started a little bit more. Then obviously enforcement equity, and then enjoyment activities. What I would encourage you to do is particularly take a look at this, and feel free to use, I don't know if you are familiar with track changes. At least I think the copy that you received already has track changes enabled on it. So if you would like to do any kind of editing, suggest some additional information on this, I would strongly encourage you to take advantage and add some. I think probably the way this current version of track changes, it will just change it on the on your version that you're using, but we will be able to open a version that will show how you may have edited or added things or subtracted things to those pages. So pages 5 through the end of 5 up to page 12, if you have any ideas on any of the areas of the 6 E's that are not covered here, or that something that's covered and you think of another idea, we would appreciate getting some feedback on that. And let's see, I think I also, and I did send you under new business only, I had sent a memo on your behalf, on the whole commission's behalf, to the Transportation and Safety Committee. And let me pull it up real quick. If you haven't had time to look at it, I sent this to the Transportation and Safety Committee last week, I think last week or the week before, for them to consider at their meeting. The first 2 of these are bullet points, are things that we had voted on relative to recommendations, and that is according to the active transportation plan, we're encouraging inclusion of infrastructure every time that there is construction or repaving of streets. The second one was to pursue the idea of multi-use paths, particularly Bill Harold had asked us to consider Coogan's Crossing and ways that we can get out to Coogan's Crossing that are safer for people to bike from there down into town. That may be an area we need to include in maybe a modification of one of the routes that we've done, maybe the route to the community center. And then I reported our discussion last week, at the previous meeting in October about people's recommendations for South Maple, and the vast majority of people feeling that we did not want to remove parking, on-street parking, in order to accommodate the Sharrows on South Maple Street. And then the last bullet point was that we are going to update these recommendations for priorities for infrastructure, and that we're hoping to include the speed limit, the width of streets, and the presence of on-street parking. So my goal originally was to get this to the Transportation Safety Committee and City Council before the end of 2020. That's probably given that we're not going to meet next month, probably unrealistic, and we'll have to shoot for maybe January. But I will send you further information about when, just as a reminder of when I would like those ratings to come in. I'll send you a new version of the Excel spreadsheet once I get the information from the city administration, and also revamp the bike routes. Are there other questions or issues? The rest I've suggested we were going to table until we meet in January. Any other questions from commission members? All right, anything in relative to lobby visitation before we adjourn?
Well, Steve, I have two things real quick. One is
Okay, good.
that you and I will check to see what we have left in terms of our 2020 budget.
Oh, good, okay.
You and I should chat about that. And then I have not heard for 2021. I forgot to check this morning. I had the Parks and Rec budget hearing, but I will shoot an email out about that. And then I can't see, because you're still on screen share, so I can't see who's on. I know we lost.
Okay, hold on a second. I will get off screen share.
Okay.
Stop share. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's right.
I
Okay,
can
so-
see everybody, but
Okay. I think we lost somebody, but so Kirby is still on. I just wanted to congratulate Kirby and the Bowling Green High School boys cross country team. Awesome year. They went to the state, if you're not aware, and did really well. Kirby had a great season as well. So just a great group of kids, and just wanted to give a shout out to that. Way to go.
good. Congratulations, Kirby. That's great.
Let's don't wait 40 more years, right, Kirby? Get down there with somebody, maybe next year again.
Kirby's grandkids, if they wait 40 more years, so. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Steve?
Bill, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you all know that the Transportation Safety Committee did meet on November 2nd. And one of the items that we discussed and voted on, in fact, unanimous vote of the committee, was to recommend to the administration to include in the 2021 budget engineering for a multi-use path from the high school, middle school area to the community center and Cogan's Crossing, by keeping connectivity and complete streets in mind. Now that's the request from the committee to include in the budget the engineering, not building it, just basically the engineering, so that this time next year we can look at it and say, this is what the path would look like, and this is how much it would cost. So that's a really important first step.
Yeah, and unfortunately, multi-use paths are something like $100,000 to $150,000 per mile. That's if you don't have to buy any of the land or anything. But
there's some geographical challenges to that,
sure,
but the roads are already there, and I don't see how we can widen the road to put a bike path in, or a bike lane, I should say. And it's like,
yeah.
How do we
But
get it? And
By recommending that gives us a chance to look at possibilities for some grants that might be available too. So
very good
that's
point.
good.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Amanda, anything?
Sure, Steve, I would just add, I work with the Public Works and the engineering guys quite a bit. I know a lot of their paving projects start, way sooner than we would all imagine. And the planning for those and the funding for those is secured sometimes 5+ years in advance of the
Right.
actual job taking place. So I would highly recommend getting, some form of a solidified biking infrastructure recommendation in place that doesn't change all that frequently. And of course, of course, there could be changes for unforeseen for circumstances or, what have you, but changing those recommendations annually or even biannually could become a hindrance if they're trying to plan 5 years in advance and every year you're saying, oh, wait, instead of Sharrows, we might want a bike lane there, or, oh, never mind, the bike lane won't work, let's do Sharrows. I mean, if they're gonna go for funding and they're gonna start the design process, and we're gonna have to have some sort of more concrete recommendations, at least. Does that make sense? At least.
Yeah. And I think our goal is not to do this, absolutely not to do this annually or even biannually. But when there have been some significant changes, for example, now we have Thurston and Manville with Sharrows on them. And we have a number of new people on the commission. But our goal or at least my goal, is probably every 3 years, just to take a look and see if there's any significant changes. But I did want to, since we've only done this once before, and the thought that, now that we've encountered at least for me, was an aha, like, oh, we do have to consider how wide the street is, and whether there's on-street parking and stuff. So our goal is not to do this on a regular basis, but in fact to do it fairly irregularly, so that we're not making last minute changes by any means. But thank you for that.
That'll certainly help us to gain a little bit of traction maybe on some of these projects. They can be
Exactly.
well in advance. So, okay, cool.
So we need to look about, be thinking 5 or more years down the road.
Or at least be pretty confident in the recommendation,
Right.
and that it's not going to change all that frequently. So,
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order?
I wanted to apologize that I've got an old laptop here, and it's generally really good, but it's just instantaneously shut off 3 times during this meeting, and I had to start it back up, get it going, and so I apologize that I dropped in and out. I guess I didn't drop in, I dropped out.
They designed the computer to do that, so you'd have to buy a new one.
Well, I've had this one a very long time, and the only time
Yes,
it does
yes,
that
yes.
is Zoom calls, and Zoom calls
It's
with meetings I
planned
did initially.
obsolescence.
Well, I wondered because I couldn't see because he had the screen share and you kept popping up as admit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I just want to go on record. I was not kicking you off.
No.
Kristen
No,
was
I'm
not
like,
cutting you off.
Hey, I'll admit you again.
All right.
The whole computer.
Okay.
All right, everybody, thank you very much. Sorry that it went so long. Have a good holiday. Wear your masks
Yep.
and keep your pod small for the next couple of months.
Eat your
And
turkey.
don't be out after 10 p.m. for the next 3 weeks.
Oh,
That's right.
they're shutting down things? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a curfew,
Oh,
Okay.
is there?
10 p.m. Yep, starts on
Only 3 weeks though, Bob.
Yeah,
Still-
3
Oh,
weeks.
okay.
State,
3 weeks.
Kristen, is
Yeah.
that a state
Yes.
curfew or local?
Yes,
State.
that is state. That was announced today.
Are they closing down fitness
Don't
centers?
worry, everything will
No.
be normal in 3
They're
weeks.
not
don't
going
worry.
to.
No,
Yeah.
it's that all he did was 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. For 3 weeks, beginning Thursday.
Interesting. Okay.
It's March all over again.
No,
Yeah.
no.
It won't make any difference. Everybody's gonna go have a big giant party and a wedding
know.
and a funeral.
I was
and
driving
all
last
sorts
Friday to pick something up, I think, and it was just a steady stream of students heading downtown. I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is why the numbers are going up. All right, everybody, thank you. And
Okay.
we'll January 19th will be our next meeting. But I
Next-
will send you some homework in the meantime, so you won't forget all about things. All
Okay.
right, thanks again.
Thanks a
Be
lot.
safe.
Thank you, Kristen, for
Okay.
running it for us.
Yep.